Why is Yang said to be Zhang Ailing's best novel? Zhang Ailing's creation has two peak periods. The first one was of course the dazzling 1940s, to be more precise, the 2 years from 1943 to 1945. Just like that, Zhang Ailing broke out. He wrote a number of novels, such as Love in a Fallen City, Red Roses and White Roses, and The Story of the Golden Lock, and published a collection of novels Legend and a collection of essays Rumors. Until now, Zhang fans are most happy to praise the works of this period. Another peak period was from 1952 to 1955, which was the 3 years when Zhang Ailing left the mainland and was in Hong Kong. In the past 3 years, while helping the U.S. News Service with translation work, she stayed up all night writing Yang and Love in the Red Earth. In 1954, these two novels began to be serialized in the magazine The World Today. Later, separate volumes were released in English and Chinese respectively. The English version of Yang received praise from some American media, but sales were poor, and Love in the Red Earth did not open up the English market. Ever since Zhang Ailing left Hong Kong for the United States in 1955, her creative career began to enter a long period of peace. In the past 40 years, in addition to constantly rewriting and rewriting her previous novels, she has only a handful of new works. Of course, she spent 10 years reading A Dream of Red Mansions in detail, spent a lot of time translating Flowers of the Sea, and also wrote Little Reunion and some English works, but overall, the density of writing has dropped compared to before. In the past, commentators often believed that Zhang Ailing's best works were written in the 1940s. Zhang Ailing left Shanghai, just like a flower leaving the soil and having to wither. However, as Zhang Ailing's posthumous works have been unearthed one after another over the years, we have discovered that Zhang actually never stopped writing. Although the intensity of his later creations is not as strong as in his early years, the artistry of his works does not necessarily mean that the early stage is worse than the later stage. At least, Yang from the 1950s and Little Reunion from the 1970s are both very good works. Yang is particularly special among Zhang Ailing's novel creations. Not only does the subject matter leave the city she is familiar with, the theme also involves politics, and the degree of completion is also very high. Yang and Love in Red Earth were created during the same period. Eileen Chang was very dissatisfied with Love in the Red Earth. When the complete collection was released in Taiwan in 1968, it was not included. Yang is different. First of all, Zhang Ailing herself takes it very seriously, who she also praised this book greatly. After Yang was published in 1954, Zhang sent a copy to Hu Shi. After reading it, Hu Shi liked it very much and wrote back. Later, Yang was published in English, and he bought many copies as gifts to his friends. The title page of the current Crown edition of Yang still bears Hu Shi's handwriting comment on the book. This book is about hunger from beginning to end. The title of the book could have been inscribed with the word hungry. The writing is really meticulous and honest. It can be said that it has reached the realm of plain and close to nature. In recent years of all the Chinese literary and artistic works I have read, this book is certainly the best. This passage comes from a reply written by Hu Shi to Zhang Ailing. The letter mentioned the realm of plain and close to nature, which was what Hu Shi said when he promoted Flowers of the Sea in his early years. Zhang Ailing read Hu Shi's textual research articles when she was a child, and then went to read the novel Flowers of the Sea. The realm of plain and close to nature can be said to be the goal that Zhang Ailing has always pursued. Of course, when I was in Shanghai in the 1940s, I was too sharp and my writing was like a sandstorm, very destructive. The further the novel goes, the more dull it becomes, but what readers seem to like the most is the gorgeous and passionate legend. In the early years, some mainland scholars criticized Zhang Ailing's Yango, thinking that she had no rural experience and what she wrote was all fabricated. But now we at least know that when Zhang Ailing went to Wenzhou to find Eileen Chang in the winter of 1947, she did indeed stay in the countryside for several months. Many scenes in Yang came from the impressions from that trip. In addition, some people pointed out that after Zhang Ailing participated in the first Shanghai Literary Congress in 1950, She went to rural areas in northern Jiangsu to participate in land reform work. This experience seems to have not been confirmed, so for the moment, it is untenable to accuse the author of being unable to create relevant novels without life experience. Yang is of course about politics, but being political does not equate to being inferior. Politics has always been a major theme in novel writing. Yang writes about politics, but she does not want the novel to serve politics, but uses the novel to reflect the changes that politics has brought to ordinary people's lives. What she focuses on is still people. When I first read Yang, my first reaction was surprise. I was surprised that Zhang Ailing understood the countryside so clearly. Of course, there is no need to be surprised by this. Zhang has always seen through people's hearts and his observations are extremely keen. Farmers are also human beings, not alien creatures. If we want to say that Yang is good, first of all, it writes about real and touching farmers. Speaking of which, rural themes have always been a tradition in modern and contemporary Chinese novels. Starting from Lu Xun, rural areas have always appeared in writers' writings, but really good ones are rare. The countryside described by Shen Kongwen is very different, has its own characteristics, and most importantly, is rich. But there are very few such works. They write about rural areas. Many authors still follow the tone set by Lu Xun. They use farmers as a symbol and criticize them. They are all about national character and servility, which is very boring. The rural areas are narrowly defined. Zhang Ailing's Yang is unique among all novels about rural areas, because she restored the farmers to human beings. Jin Zhen, Yu Xiang, Jin Hua, and An Tan. Everyone is very real. The reason why it can give readers such a feeling is not only that Zhang Ailing's profound psychological description skills allow everyone's inner activities to be vividly expressed, but also that she can treat each character sympathetically and make them become real people. Peasants give people the impression in many novels that they have no love, no thinking, no brains in their hearts, and they just go with the flow. But in Yang, the characters are rich and believable. For example, Jin Zhen's longing for his wife Yu Xiang is written with every detail. Jin Zhen longed for his wife to come home, but the family needed Yu Zhang's help in the city to supplement the family income. On the one hand, he loved his wife, but on the other hand, he felt inferior. Although the land was divided, the family life was still going well. No, he couldn't calmly ask his wife to go home. After his wife came home, he was unable to settle many things, and a sense of powerlessness weighed heavily on him. Finally, he clashed with cadres in the granary, causing a mass incident and an explosion of the powerlessness he had been harboring. And where does this sense of powerlessness come from? Is it just an imbalance of economic income? To give an example, it was the second day after Yu Xiang came back. Although there was not much rice at home, he still asked Yu Xiang to cook dry rice. Although he did not say it out loud, he actually loved his wife. However, considering the actual situation at home, Yu Xiang still cooked it, half dry and half watery, which made Jin Zhen a little uncomfortable. The first layer was, of course, that Yu Xiang did not listen to him and did not get his favor. The second layer, however, he also knew that the family did not actually have that much rice, and Yu Xiang was right to do so. As a man, there was no way for the family to have a meal, and it was because of his own uselessness. It's not over yet. While eating his meal in anger, suddenly Comrade Wang, the village cadre, came. Jin Zhen quickly asked Yu Xiang to hide the rice. Yu Xiang was slow to hide it, but Comrade Wang still saw it. After Comrade Wang left, Jin Zhen got angry. Why are you angry? Because Comrade Wang saw that the food they ate was half dry and half thin, rather than completely thin. This would leave Comrade Wang with the impression that their family was quite wealthy, and this impression would definitely make them suffer in the future. He had to hide in order to get even a meal. This was the pervasive pressure, and Jin Zhen's sense of powerlessness also came from this pressure. What is this pressure? It is the sense of terror created by the power represented by Comrade Wang in the countryside. Not only Jin Zhen, everyone will be careful when talking at home and be careful about being overheard. An Tan is used to this kind of power. Her method is to be cowardly. She only wants to live a good life, but half her life has been in war. There is a flashback in the book when her son was captured as a young man. It is very absurd and terrifying. Therefore, when she meets Comrade Wang or anyone else, she will repeat the phrase, "Now that things are getting better, the people have become the masters." This is her armor. Through many details and scenes, Zhang Ailing not only vividly created real and credible characters, but also wrote about the living conditions of these innocent people, who had to be aggrieved and suppressed because of some unknown and nameless pressure. Regarding this invisible pressure, not long after the novel begins, when Jinhua registers her marriage with the government department, there is a very detailed and conversational conversation. Question: "Who are you going to marry?" He quickly grunted, "Tan Jinhua." "Why did you marry her?" "Because she can work." This is funny. The reason for getting married is because she can work. But this is the safest answer and a procedure farmers understand. This is a small transformation, perhaps insignificant, but it already shows that a larger transformation is coming. In the end, Jin Zhen rebelled angrily because of the heavy pressure. Group incidents, suppression, and death were all inevitable for this development. Zhang Ailing is Zhang Ailing after all, and she will not let the novel become a cliché. Even with Comrade Wang, we see the devoured side of him, not that badass villain kind of thing. I think Yang captures that stormy era with a very high degree of completion. Zhang Ailing used a small group incident to almost predict the real history to come. It must be said that her eyes are very vicious. From the perspective of novel skills alone, Yang is also the most complete of all Zhang Ailing's novels. The plot develops step by step, and the plot is clearer than other novels.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.